Everybody's
but
good.
These are the best of the best. I mean, they are of the 700 who go through this class, and the 25 who are selected doing demonstrations and competitions.
They're
all
in the
over
Air Force
place.
Academy. Okay.
All right, so eyes back into the sky now on the C-130, and what is coming, Sean Dolly?
So as much as I have talked this up, this is the same C-130 that flew earlier today that dropped out our special tacticians and then came back around as part of a 4-ship formation. Having just deployed the Wings of Blue parachute team, they've made the racetrack. They've come back around, and they're going to come down the river. And again, I have really oversold this. We're supposed to see something that we've never seen here at Thunder over Louisville before. So we've come this far without me giving it away. Let's just hold on just a few more seconds.
And I've just been told by our producers that all of the jumpers are okay.
Praise the Lord.
Rob on the other side of the river said they're 19 years old and their bones are still bending.
Let's talk a little bit more about the C-130, Sean, because you shared a little of this with us. How often would it be that you would take on enemy fire flying a C-130 in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan?
Yeah, so on any given day, you never knew, but fortunately, these planes are equipped with a full spectrum of missile warning system and radar warning receiver defense systems. So we've got pyrotechnic flares to decoy infrared heat seekers. We have chaff to deploy radar-guided missiles, and we even have lasers that can destroy the seeker head of incoming threats. So we flew with a fairly good blanket of protection around us because you never knew on what given day the enemy had in store for you.
Hey, I don't know if it's just because it's a little bit darker outside now, but I'm noticing a light underneath the C-130 that's flashing. I didn't see that before. Can you at least tell us about it?
Yeah, so when we're flying stateside, we abide by all the same FAA lighting provisions that would govern the operation of any airplane. Now, when we're flying overseas, darkness is our best ally, so we wouldn't have that light on. But that is basically an anti-collision strobe. It just provides greater visibility from a distance. And certainly at night, it's going to have more of an impact. But even in the day, like you recognized, it gets your attention.
You talked about with us just in your career flying the C-130, you had taken on small arms fire. There had been an instance where there was a surface-to-air missile that was headed in your direction. I mean, these things can be really in danger at times.
And when you find yourself in a position at that moment, it is too late to say, I really wish I had prepared more for this. So we always train the way we fight. We make sure that we would go up and fly against simulated threats. Even up at Atterbury in Indiana, they have these things called Smoky Sams, and they launch and put out a smoke trail comparable to a an infrared heat-seeking missile, and we practice counter maneuvers. We practice kicking out flares to decoy it. I can't fully explain the classified nature of those counter maneuvers there, Lindsay, I'd have to kill you, as they say in Top Gun.
Yes.
But let's just say that it is in your best interest when you take this weapon system into combat to be as capable as a pilot as the plane is as an aircraft.
It's interesting to me, A, how long we've been using the C-130, and B, how it is, really used by militaries all over the world.
Yeah, it has so much utility. Within the U.S. inventory, it's flown by not just the Air Force, but by also the Navy, the Marine Corps, and we use it as a rescue platform. We use it as a gunship. It can camp out on top of an enemy target and service it with round after round. We use it for air medical evacuation, airdrop, both in combat and humanitarian. And so the versatility and the utility of it make it for a pretty good aircraft for smaller nations who don't have as big of a budget. They can buy this one aircraft and then retrofit it to use it for any number of different roles.
Do a whole bunch of different things with it. Okay.
Coming back around one more time.
Into the airbox, and I'm told it's got a special trick up its sleeve, and this again is the C-130 from the Kentucky Air National Guard.
Right.
These are our hometown folks here. We have pilots who come from all over the country and the world for that matter, but these folks, they're right here in Kentuckiana as their backyard.
C-130J model is the newest version of the fleet. Just entered the Air National Guard Kentucky inventory in the past year or so with a price tag of about $75 million, which, as a frame of reference, $75 million is more money than I make in an entire year.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
You and everybody
True
else.
statement.
You and most of the folks watching from home right now.
What kind of fleet or how many C-130s do we have at the Kentucky Air National Guard base?
There are 8. 8 C-130J models, which is a standard, it's a standard size squadron. Most squadrons of C-130s are typically 8 aircraft. There's a little over 500 total in the Air Force inventory across active duty, guard, reserve, different variations.
So we're watching it circle. We've watched it circle a couple of times here, and I guess what is the pilot looking for, lining up for? Give us some insight into the cockpit here, as he looks almost stalled. He looks like he's stopped in the air here.
Yeah, so for these airshow passes, they're not going to be at max speed, but he's using visual references to maintain his spatial awareness, but he also is backing that up with his instruments that are giving him a ground and terrain mapping function. Look at this, coming back into the airbox now.
Right behind us.
Talk about the size of the C-130, Sean. It's smaller than the C-17, but it's still a big boy.
So it's 132-foot
wingspan. That's what we were waiting on. That's what you were waiting on.
Those are 5,000-degree pyrotechnic magnesium flares that are meant to decoy the seeker head of an incoming infrared rocket. So a radar-guided missile would not be decoyed by this, but when those flares come out, your everlasting hope is that the incoming seeker head of that threat picks up on that flare and decides, oh, that must be the target. So you're trying to decoy that incoming missile.
Did you ever have to deploy the flares?
Yes. Usually on purpose. Sometimes when you had it set to auto, if it picked up anything that looked like the ultraviolet signature of a rocket, it would kick them out. So more than a few times, you'd find yourself on short final into a hostile airfield, and all of a sudden, boop, 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 boop.
So
like,
you were really excited about
fireworks.
this because it took a lot of okays to get that done at an air show with 100,000 people on both sides of the river.
Right, and so we are a very conservative military. We want to make sure that we don't do things unnecessarily without fully accounting for the risk. So I applaud the people that went through the administrative process to allow the people here at Thunder to see that for the first time.
It was very cool.